Bootstrap enables us to quickly make our user interfaces look nice, and it can be used with React. However, Bootstrap requires jQuery and other dependencies for some of its components and doesn't always play nicely with React. Therefore, instead of using Bootstrap as is, we can use a library called React Bootstrap, which is a completely rewritten version where each Bootstrap component is a React component. Let's take a look at how to use some of the React Bootstrap components in our code. To start, we will need to install React Bootstrap in our project. I am using our React router example for this video, and I've already gone ahead and installed React Bootstrap. But if you need to install it still, you can go ahead and run npm install React Bootstrap, React-Bootstrap. And you need Bootstrap as well. We need the CSS from there, so you can add Bootstrap to there and install both of those. Then we can import, once we're finished with the install, we can import different components from React Bootstrap / the component name. We could import the entire React Bootstrap module and destructure our components from the import, but then we are pulling in way more than we need. So you can do that, but it is recommended to import each individual component. And we also need to import our CSS file. So let's go ahead and do a few imports here, and we're going to start by using these components in our app here and look at how we can quickly change the way this looks. Let me go ahead and run this npm start. We can get a reminder of what it looks like right now and see what the React Bootstrap components make it look like when it's finished. All right, there we go. Right, a lot of plain text. So let's come in here and import a few things. So to start, I'm going to go ahead and import my CSS file. And we're going to go right here in node modules / bootstrap / distribution css / bootstrap.min.css. There we go. And then I'm going to import a few different components. So again, I can do it this way where I can say get button and button group and however many other ones from React-Bootstrap, just like that. But then we're pulling in all of React Bootstrap instead of just each individual component. So what we want to do instead is let's go ahead and get the button from button. And so it will just be that. And let's go ahead and import our button group. And we're going to see what all of these do in just a minute once we implement them from React-Bootstrap / and I'm going to go ahead and copy this right now since I'm going to be writing it a couple times. Let's just copy this right here. / button group and import alert from alert, import card from React Bootstrap / card, import container from React Bootstrap / container. There we go. So let's start by changing up some of our code here. So right now we have kind of these plain ugly links. Let's change those to buttons. So we'll come in here and inside, we're going to put all of this inside of a container to start. So we'll say container. There we go. Copy this and paste it at the very end of the router. Tab this all over a bit. Save that, and we can look at the change that made. Now it moved everything here. If we made it a container fluid, it would keep it over there on the edges, but we want that margin there. I like the way it looks. So we've got container. Now we're going to go ahead and instead of using a list here, right here, let's use a button group with some buttons. So the button group, it's going to join the buttons together so they're not spaced apart, they're all conjoined. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm right here, create a button group. Inside of my button group, I'm going to have a few different buttons. So let's go ahead and say button. Notice it's capitalized instead of lowercase. Lowercase would be our HTML button. The capital one is the button component that comes with React Bootstrap. And we're going to look at the documentation, or I'll show you where to find the documentation to find all the different options here. But instead of having a class name, we're going to go ahead and say variant as an attribute equals, and we'll call it outline secondary. So that's going to define a lot of the style of this button. So there we go, and this is where we're going to put the link. So I'm going to move this to here. Right? I'm going to go ahead and copy this twice, or paste it twice rather, and we're going to take these links and replace these ones. Tab that over, this link, place this one, tab that over, and get rid of the list altogether. And now let's take a look at what this looks like. There's our buttons. So much better. All the functionality is still the same. It works, but it looks better than it did before. So let's go ahead and continue to make this look better. So to start, let's do the posts. The posts are what we want to work on. So we're going to scroll down to our posts here, and we want to change up each post. Instead of being a instead of just being a link right here, let's use the alert. So we're going to go ahead and say each, well again, we don't want to use a UL anymore. We're not going to use a list. We're just going to use a bunch of alerts right by each other. So let's get rid of the list, just like that. Let's get rid of the LI, or actually let's update the LI. Let's just make this alert. We can keep the key for the index there, that's good. And we're going to add a variant of primary. So we're going to use the primary alert here, and then update this to be alert. So we just changed each LI to an alert instead. So let's see what that looks like. If we go to our posts, all right, so we have an issue here. It's not working. Let's go back and take a look at this. This variant needs to be inside of our alert, our opening tag. Come back here. There we go. So now we've got all this, and we've got our posts. Our posts are still pretty ugly, so let's go ahead and update those. That's where we're going to use all of our card info. So let's come back to here in our posts, and instead of just returning some HTML here, let's use a card. So we'll change this to card, change this to card, and then we're going to go ahead and change this to card.header. And see how easy it is just to come in here and replace the HTML with these components, right? If you're writing it from scratch, it's just as easy. You just have to be familiar with the components from the documentation on their website. But it's real easy to come in here and just change these up. Now what we're going to do here is we have to add a card body. So I'm going to say card.body. And inside the card body, we're going to put this data here. Tab that over. And we don't want this to be H4. We want this to be, we're going to use card subtitle. And this one will be our card text. So they're all different parts of the Bootstrap card. There we go. So come back here. Now you can see this is what each of our posts look like. Right? This looks a lot better with very little changing and just using the Bootstrap, the React Bootstrap library. Now I want to change one more thing here just so everyone's aware. If we go to something that doesn't exist, like 6, right now that breaks our code. So we can go back into our post here and we can add a simple check to say, hey, if it doesn't exist, then let's go ahead and return something different than a card so we're not getting these errors. And we can look at this, it says, cannot read property title of undefined. So title on data that's saying data is undefined. So our check can be pretty simple. We can say return data equals undefined. So if data is undefined, then we want to go ahead and let's return a H1 404 not found. Because 404 stands for not found. Right? We've all seen this before. Not found. Otherwise, we can return this. So if data is undefined, then we're going to return not found. Otherwise, if it's not undefined, if there is some data there, we can return the rest of this code right here. So that should work. Come back here. 404 not found on 6. We're back to 1. If we change it manually to 3, there we go, 3. If we go to something that's there, 404 not found. So that post does not exist. So the documentation for React Bootstrap is a great place to learn about all the different components you have access to. So I would recommend you take some time and look over that documentation. And you can find that here. I usually just go React Bootstrap. Click on this one. And click on Components. And this is where all the different components are. All the different variants you can see here. And got accordions, right, that do different things like that. You've got different buttons, badges, the nav bars are very useful. Right, so there's a bunch of different components here. Very useful to look through here when you're designing your user interface to make it look nice and clean.